it wouldn't be an election season without a new Republican gerrymander, this time in North Carolina. Now, Republicans have pushed through an aggressive gerrymander of North Carolina's congressional map that will help them flip several seats in Congress. This move comes after a Supreme Court ruling struck down the last map as an illegal partisan gerrymandered map. Now, that led to the court-drawn map in use last year. A little more on that from Politico. Republicans flipped control of the state Supreme Court in the midterms, and the new conservative majority decided to rehear that decision. A highly unusual move. That court ultimately ruled that it would no longer litigate partisan gerrymandering, giving the Republican legislature a free pass to draw lines to their own advantage. The United States Supreme Court similarly ruled in 2019 that the federal judiciary wouldn't take up cases involving partisan gerrymandering claims. Now, I want to be clear on this. They'll still take up cases not on the basis of partisan gerrymandering, but on the basis of racial discrimination and gerrymandering. Those are still cases that they can hear. So we still are seeing the Supreme Court taking up those cases and making rulings on illegally racially discriminatory gerrymandering. We're talking specifically about partisan gerrymandering. Now, those guaranteed GOP pickups are going to bolster the party's chances of defending their narrow House majority next year by erasing or even surpassing Republican losses elsewhere in the South after courts ruled against several states' congressional lines for diluting the power of Black voters. The map packs as many Democrat voters as possible into 3 blue districts while redistributing Republicans across the remaining districts to make sure they remain largely out of reach for Democrats. The maps were drawn so Republicans would hold a strong majority of the state's seats, even in particularly bad years for the GOP. Now, North Carolina has a long history of drawing maps that overwhelmingly favor Republicans, despite the fact that the state's electorate is almost evenly divided between the two parties. Republicans' new lines obliterate 3 Democratic districts, all but guaranteeing the Representative Kathy Manning and first-term Democrats Wiley Nickel and Jeff Jackson won't return. The new map also makes Davis's district, which was already a battleground, into even closer to a coin flip, giving Republicans an opportunity to hold 11 out of the state's 14 districts. So these new deep red districts and the decision by GOP Representative Dan Bishop to run for state attorney general mean the delegation could see as many as 5 new members come 2025. While numerous ambitious Republicans scramble to throw their hat into the race, the Democrats have drawn out their districts. The Democrats in these drawn out districts, are speaking out. Now, here's a statement from Representative Wiley Nickel. It's and they use the word I cannot say. The response to the crappy North Carolina electoral maps. I won a 50-50 district in 2022 because North Carolina voters had a real chance to make their voices heard and pick the candidate with the best ideas. I don't want to give these maps credibility by announcing a run in any of the gerrymandered districts. The maps are an extreme partisan gerrymander by Republican legislators that totally screw North Carolina voters. It's time to sue them. Another word I can't say, but you can all read it. I'll make a decision about running for office once the courts have spoken. Now, Representative Kathy Manning has put out a similar statement denouncing the gerrymander. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'll just read her tweet here. Despite a court-ordered redraw of last year's congressional maps due to extreme partisan gerrymandering and a dismal track record that has required North Carolina Republicans to redistrict 5 times in as many cycles, they never learn. Now, meanwhile, one representative has essentially accepted defeat and is now planning his next moves. That's Representative Jeff Jackson, tweeted this. I've officially been drawn out of my congressional district by a small group of politicians. It's blatant corruption, but I've got news for them. I'm running for attorney general, and I'm going to use that job to fight political corruption. And there is a link to donate to his campaign. And it is possible that civic groups or Democrats bring a challenge to the new maps, but it isn't clear yet what grounds they could be brought under. Now, it's possible that one district may have violated the Voting Rights Act. Now, regardless, any litigation would be highly unlikely to be resolved before 2024. So we are going to see this map in effect, most likely in the 2024 election. And Sharon, I mean, partisan gerrymandering happens all over the country. before, every election. But what we're seeing here is just a grotesque, blatant example of it, and decisions by state Supreme Courts and the Supreme Court that they don't care about partisan gerrymandering. They're fine with it. They're fine with disempowering the electorate. They're fine with not giving people, a meaningful say with their vote. And I'm happy to see so many of these representatives calling it out and the state party calling it out. There hasn't been that much attention on this story, though. I think it deserves more.
I agree with you. And I wasn't even sure. The Voting Rights Act is still, I thought that was just like a theory. That's not really what America's doing. Look at your life. But I think there's a reason that cheating never feels as good as actually winning. Mm-hmm. Because you're a loser. You know what you did. I ran track all the way through college, although I should have just sat down somewhere, but I couldn't. And they had this thing at the meets where, the top two in the trials, each heat would advance to the finals. That's you get the fastest people. And then the theory is, of course, that the best runners on that day will compete for everything. It's a very simple thing. If they put all the burners in one heat, well, then some slowpoke is going to get the trophy at the end of the day. So if this is how you want to live your life, only we can stop you. We, the people. I don't know why this little clan, for lack of a better word, is running things in so many places. Over here, they've got control of the school board, even though parents are angry and standing outside. And then they're over here on council, okay, or code enforcement. There's a little group of people, and they go to each other's houses, and they just sip some kind of beverage, and they decide what they're going to do to the rest of us. We don't have to allow it. We can figure out how to say, nah, not today. And things are going to be different. There's going to be we're drawing the map correctly, okay? By the way, you're not bigger than Africa, so stop drawing the map a certain way. That's a different subject. But can the map just be the map? Mm-hmm. Can it just be real? And then we see who wins. And may the best, a kind of good person win.
I wish we had more time to talk about the issues with cartography and the way that they promote racism, and it's
because we can't handle it, apparently.
Right. The idea that a continent might be bigger than a predominantly white continent is something that apparently people are incapable of handling.
We're supposed to blame Trump for that too. I mean, some of this stuff's been around a long time.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.